Back in 1988, I was 13 years old and I remember seeing for the first time this very angular, slab-sided coupe come flying past me, sounding like absolute fury.
I'm not modest, I'm telling it as I see it.
Sorry John, not you. I knew at that moment in time I wanted one. Skip forward a few years to 1991 and I was 16 years of age and buying my first car. And what I bought was a Volkswagen Scirocco. Not quite the car that I was lusting after, because what I was lusting after was a Volkswagen Corrado.
The new Corrado from Volkswagen.
The G60 was the most exclusive car out of the Corrado range, with just 1,984 units sold. It's a car that I have lusted after for quite some time and never owned, but I do now. The Volkswagen Corrado was an icon of the 80s and 90s hot hatch scene, and this G60 model with its G-Lader supercharger was a bit of a beast in its time and regarded as one of the best handling front-wheel drive cars of its era. But this one is going to take a little bit of work. Now let me tell you about how my downfall started. Because I was browsing around through eBay and classic car sites and Facebook Marketplace during the daytime in the middle of one of those periods where we couldn't go to work. And I spotted a Corrado G60. And this one had been stood since 2016. And it was relatively cheap. And do you know something? I just pushed the button. I messaged the guy and said straight away, I will take that car, because I felt it was going to sell immediately to another VAG enthusiast. And I'm not massively a VAG enthusiast. It's more the BMWs that I buy these days, but my God, did I want that car when I saw it. I didn't care that it was covered in dust and clearly hadn't been used for quite some time. It was looking pretty unloved, but I could see that the basics of a decent car were probably still there, and there's nothing that can't be fixed. The engine bay looked like it had not had some care, but it did have that Jabba Sport supercharger on there. I asked the guy for a walk around video, which he sent over, and I'll show you that now. So let's start at the front. The car had a set of aftermarket headlights and grille fitted, these vents on the side. This side of the car was the worst condition, so obviously it's really dirty and covered in dust, but you can see dents and damage onto the driver's door, and as you go down the car there are various other dents. Moving on to the rear quarter panel, where there's a dent into the arch of the car, but you can see those Momo Arrow alloys, which are incredibly 90s, very period correct and very cool back in the day. On the rear of the car we've got some damage and scrapes to the paintwork around the Volkswagen badge, and you can see in the back there's a big Clarion amp. This had quite a sizable stereo fitted at some stage. Miltech exhaust, I was told that the rear spoiler did work, although we've still not had a look at that. Momo Arrow alloy again in good condition. Damage onto that arch, and this is a cleaner side of the car, but there are still dents and dinks into the door, and obviously the paintwork is still pretty poor overall. You can see that on the bonnet. Under the hood we've got quite a bit of power, so we've got a stage 3 Jabba Sport supercharger intake, we've got a VR6 radiator that's been installed along with a bunch of other mods, and of course there's a set of Bilstein coilovers on the car as well. Inside under these rear seats there was a variety of stereo equipment still and wiring, and just in the centre console there's a little Philips screen as well, but overall not bad. And here she is, my Volkswagen Corrado G60. My next port of call is to try and find out some more history about the car. Now, I've tried to do some of this already. There's a sticker in the back that says Track Art, and that was a company owned by a guy called Zecker, but unfortunately that company has now closed, so no joy there. I've also looked at another sticker which says Volkswagen Action 2004. Clearly an event that car may have been to. However, trawled every forum, every photograph of that event, and I can't see the car anywhere. But I do have a couple of other leads. First thing that I came across was a business card inside the Corrado when I was cleaning it out, which had the name of a guy on there called James, who is, according to the business card anyway, a photographer. I had a look at his website and he does photograph classic cars. So I've got his number on this phone. I'm going to give him a call and see if this number is still valid. It's ringing.
Hello?
Oh, hi. Is that James?
Yes, it is.
I've stumbled across your telephone number from a very old and very decrepit business card, which was in a car that I've purchased. When I kind of Googled you and had a little look around, I spotted that you were an automotive photographer.
Sure, yes, yeah.
And I wondered whether or not you had either photographed the car at some stage or whether or not it had been, you know, something that you'd come across. I'm just trying to find a little bit about the car.
Which car?
The car is a 1992 Volkswagen Corrado G60.
I had one of those.
You had one?
I had one a while ago, yeah.
Interesting, okay.
It's a great car, I love it. I loved it.
Yeah.
It's so strange when you said that and I had one. I was like, I have fond memories of it.
I'm wondering if this was your car that I've purchased.
What's the registration?
Off the top of my head, I think it's J772.
Yes it is. That's it.
Is it really?
Yep.
Absolutely fantastic.
I sold it to a guy in Kent, 7 years ago.
Right.
But I'm kind of a slightly too old boy racer. I had a lot done to it. I mean, I put a lot of energy into it.
Right.
Limited slip. I boosted the power to about 230 brake.
Right.
Which was a lot for the Corrado. I mean, and the torque steer was absolutely bonkers. J772 RVR, Romeo Victor Romeo.
That's the one. That is the one. Yeah. And with that, let me introduce you to James Galloway, the previous owner of my Corrado G60, the man who modified my Corrado G60, and fine art photographer of classic cars.
I've always loved cars and I've always wanted to photograph cars, so I wanted to do it differently and this is why I chose this technique. I feel it really encapsulates them, the old school feel of the process and the old school feel of, especially the older cars. It's almost as if you're sort of freezing time on that piece of film.
Unfortunately, the Corrado G60's condition had not been frozen in time and it had continued to deteriorate into 2022, and I'm sure James would be sad to see it in its current state, but I'm sure it's something we can fix. The next plan is to try and see if she will start. So we've got a jump pack and we're going to have a quick look over and see if we can get this engine started. Fingers crossed. Problem number one, getting in the car. Can you get in? Go on. You can squeeze in. I thought you were used to being in the back of 90s hatchbacks. And we're in. Well done. Nothing better than a handcrafted bonnet release lever. Give it a tug. Go on. Battery pack on. So we're going to give this a go. No, can you hear the fuel pump prime? As we could hear the fuel pump priming, we pulled a plug to see whether or not we had a spark. No spark, is there? Having run out of time, we came back the next day with some better weather in the hope that we'd actually make some progress on the car. As I sit here on the edge of this Corrado, I can tell you that there are some signs of the immobiliser still in here. There's what appears to be a contact point on the dash. There's a Cobra system that's sitting the driver's seat, so I don't know whether they're still active or not. However, I decided to call at home and give James a call to find out if he knew more about the immobiliser. The car turns over really very freely, but it won't start. There's no spark, which is why I wondered whether or not there had been an immobiliser fitted.
Oh, you know what there is? There is an immobiliser on there.
Right. So, James has just told me that he thinks that there was an immobiliser on this car back in the day. Seems to recall having a fob for the immobiliser. So, before we really start looking at whether or not there are any other issues that are causing the car to not start, I think we've got to investigate that immobiliser problem. So we're not really going to get this car started in today's video, and that frustrates me because I really wanted to have this running for you today. I really did. So we're going to do that. I'm going to get an auto electrician to take a look at this, somebody who knows more about these systems than me, and then effectively, hopefully we can get this started next time. If you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit the bell icon to get updates on all of my latest videos, and if you can, give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. So thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one, where we will see the Volkswagen Corrado again.